Hello and welcome to the Formula Racing League Assetto Corsa Competizione GT4 Thursday Tier 1 event here at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari at Imola in the region of Emilia-Romagna in the country of Italy. I'm Tom Cairns in the country box giving you the details for today's event, and we've got a number of drivers in, 18 drivers involved, including GTJ, who's just doing a bit more practice out on circuit before we get the 15-minute qualifying session underway. And then for tonight's rounds, with it usually being a 40-minute race, it's been increased to 90 minutes, which will include 2 mandatory pit stops. So from now, we're going to be in for the best part of 2 hours. So I'll do my best to keep you up to date with everything that is happening. In terms of what happened last week, I was not around for that due to family commitments. Chris switched from Chevrolet to Audi. And then Misano, Drifter, continued the BMW dominance. So Drifter continued the BMW dominance with another win, closing in on the front of the championship. And Cheese Monkey continues to upset the BMW train in the mighty Ginetta, claiming a second place finish, which has moved into the top of the drivers' standings in Tier 1. Only 4 points in front of Will Friedman, the Frenchman, in the McLaren, only managing P6 in Misano, which is his lowest finishing position of the season. So qualifying begins, cars making their way out onto the racetrack. Wants to pick up on the one who's furthest round, which is Chris You can see there in the Audi. So Chris, who's alongside Hutch. Chris in the number 1 white, purple livery Audi. The team known as Not Fast, Just Furious. So there's not a lot of time here around Imola in these cars. 1 minute 51s they were posting at best. So looking at the best part of just over 2 minutes to do with lap of whether it's an out lap or an in lap or a flying lap. So you want to get out there and not lose too much time. You don't want to be stuck in traffic either when you do start your flying laps. And then the team's championship, the Reptile Racing team, which comprises of Simon and Omar Oz. They lead the way by 22 points over Pocket Rockets Racing team. Now part of that team are Freeman and Marek Mariola. So Chris starts a flying lap now. We'll go on board with him, actually, why not? So braking towards Tamburello, down to third gear, 110 kilometers an hour. He's braking for that. Smoothly done through that particular complex, riding the curbs. And now you want to be on that curb on the outside as you approach the Villeneuve chicane. A little bit out of shape there at the first part, but caught it well for the second. And now you approach the toe set hairpin, down to third gear, and as low as around about 75 kilometers an hour. Before you get on the power, use the curb on the outside if you need to. Now you go up the hill and approaching for the fast left-hander of Piratella. Braking down to fourth gear. Keeping the car within the track limits as well. And then you come towards the double right-hander of Acro Minerale. Lovely complex here. It's probably one of my favourite complexes of any circuit in motor racing. Up through the gears and braking down to third gear for the Variante Alta. On the power nicely and making the run down towards Rivazza. Now what gear will he go in? I would expect he'll be in third gear for this corner, which he is. 90 kilometers an hour through here. And then just lifting off for the second part of Ravazza, and then through the start-finish straight where Variante Bassa would be, with the chicane, which is still there actually, as part of another configuration. It proceeds over the line for 1 minute 52.1. Now, how does he compare with the others? Well, no one else has set a lap time yet so far. We'll watch Kevin here, who is coming towards the end of his first flying lap in the BMW. Spacey goes second with 1:52.6. Kevin displaces him, goes to P2 on a 1:52.3. Here is Marty in another one of the BMWs in the silver and dark blue liveried BMW 226. It's his car number. Freeman's gone fourth on a 1:52.8. He wants to be going again though. Marty goes only fifth with a 1:53.6, so he needs to find a lot more time than that, quite frankly. Here's Freeman. We expect him to see around about where the top 5 is by the end of this qualifying session. Runs over the gravel though, that won't do the lap time any good. Did he exceed track limits by going off track though? I'd like to think that he didn't. We'll see as he goes over the line now. Goes third with a 1:52.5. So just looking to see who else is coming towards the end of their lap. Here is Hutch. Chrissy's teammate approaches the finish line. I think he's just starting the lap actually. We'll go to Omroz, who is Simon's teammate. Seven drivers have posted times at the moment. Cheese Monkey only with a 1 minute 54.1. Definitely needs to find a lot more time than that. He's Omroz over the line. And he goes fifth with a 1:52.6 for himself. Here's Des Parker in the Mercedes AMG. Now the field, however, the line, the times are starting to go on more and more and more now. And Des Parker goes in front of Cheese Monkey. GTJ, number 82. And we've got Rinon Owenart, which is a new name to me. Biggest filling in alongside Marpat at the Regatta Racing. I think they've been looking for someone to fill in the second seat for a few weeks. GTJ is just starting the flying lap actually, so we'll come away from him. Here is Mr. Error, who is coming towards Ravazza now. He's got his headlights on, so he's looking to get the best visibility possible. His light does seem to be phasing a little bit. That's probably because of the clouds surrounding the Imola racetrack. So the BMW pilot goes over the line. Where does he end up here? He didn't set a lap time. He either exceeded track limits or he's just starting his first time lap. Here's Mariola in the McLaren. He could do with a solid showing here. Now Mariola, who didn't finish last time out in Misano. We had 4 drivers not making it to the end of that race in Misano, which, believe it or not, is in the same region as Imola. It's an FIA Grade 2 circuit, hence why Formula 1 doesn't race that. But Misano, of course, has hosted a number of events, including MotoGP. I think it hosted 2 races this season, as the Emilia-Romagna MotoGP and the San Marino MotoGP, unless I'm mistaken. Mario goes 9th, by the way, with a 1:52.9. And going back to what I was saying about Misano, it has hosted races including Italian Formula 4, and other single-seater events of which it hosts. It's a brilliant racetrack, as Misano has to be said, but Imola I would put ahead of that. Now, Drifter, race winner of last week. He's won 2 of the last 3 races. He won out in Brands Hatch, finishing second at Laguna Seca the week after that, and then back to the top step in Misano 7 days after that. So he's in a good run of form. He didn't compete in the first couple of weeks. There was 1 race at Donington and then 2 races at Alton Park. So he's got a lot of ground to make up in the remaining races of this season. Drifter goes over the line. I don't know if he actually improved on the lap. Well, Freeman, he's in need of a better lap here. I don't know if Imola is one of his stronger circuits. His lap time so far has been a 1 minute 52.8, so he's aiming for a higher position than that. He's realistically looking to get in front of Omroz and Spacey. Let's see how he gets on here, over the line, and he does not improve his lap time. So going back to what I was saying about the calendar, after Imola we go to Kyalami, which will be the last one before we take a break for Christmas, and then we return in the new year at Bathurst, and then Paul Ricard the week after that, and then the final round of the season will be at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya on the 20th of January, where it will be 2 races being held. So 2 30-minute races that will be in Barcelona. Of course, we're being a 90-minute event tonight. Double points are on offer. So if you're one of those who's further behind in the championship, you've got a great chance of a good haul of points. Which means it'll be, instead of 40 points for a race win, it's 80 points for a race win. 72 for second, 64 for third, 56 for fourth, right there all the way down to what would be 18th. So if you do finish in 18th place, providing you get to the finish, of course, you get 6 points instead of 3. But I'm sure you'd be wanting to get a lot more than that. So here are your top the times so far. Drifter, the fastest in all 3 sectors so far, with Marty in second place. Chrissy's doing a fine job in the Audi in third on a 151.7. And we've got Freeman in fourth, just behind him, less than the 10th for Drift on a 151.7. Then we've got Kevin in fifth, Will Freeman in sixth place, nearly a whole second off the pace. He did find a lot of more time than he did say before, so it's good to see him up there. Spacey 7, GTJ 8. Cheese Monkey, who has already won a race this season. He's won 2, in fact. 1 at Alton Park and 1 at Laguna Seca. He's currently 9th on the timesheets, with Marek Mariota running out the top 10 so far. So who can challenge Drifter at the moment, who's looking very, very strong here, with a couple of minutes to go? So time for one last effort for each of the drivers. And Drifter not on a fast lap right now, so we'll come away from him. Here is Marty. Is he on a faster lap time? He's going faster than he's doing so before, so we'll stay with him. So right on board, just inside the windscreen of the BMW as he goes to Aston Minerali. He was rather cautious there in the second part. Just managed to get a bit of exit speed as he places the car on the left hand side as the curb. It's so easy to entice you. Go through that. It was very nicely done. We've got a bit of oversteer on the exit, so that'll lose him a bit of time down the straight towards Ravazza. Now how does he get on here? Breaks down to third gear, down to second in fact, so he's able to get up to speed more quickly than he would have done last time. So exiting the Ravazza complex. He may even go fastest here with the way he's going about his business here. And he does go fastest. So Marty ahead by nearly 0.04 of a second ahead of Drifter. Now what has Drifter got to respond to that? He's in the pits. So Drifter will not start the race on pole position. Cresces isn't going faster than before. He's nearly a couple of tenths down from before, so he needs to find a lot of time from somewhere. Currently third fastest. Oh, he's caught that poorly, to be honest with you, so I don't think he's going to go faster than he did so beforehand. So we'll come away from him. Kevin in the BMW over the line. Improves his time, but still no change in position. He stays in P5. So Spacey, who is in the Ginetta. He competed last week for the first time. 4th place at Misano, which was probably better than expected for him. It is a tough category as Tier 1 in the FRL. I'm sure it's in its pursuit in enticing more drivers in getting involved. And here's Omroz over the line. I don't think he improves his time, to be honest with you. He parks the car because he knows the session is over. Freeman out on circuit as well. He hasn't gone past the checker flag just yet. Or has he gone past the checker flag? I'm not 100% sure. Miles away for him. We'll run down on the grid for the race. So Marty's on pole position here at Imola with Drifter alongside. Then it's Cresces and Kevin on the second row, followed by Freeman and Will Freeman on row 3. Had a Spacey in GTJ. Ronan Onar will start 9th on the grid. He finished 14th last week, but he's in a very solid grid position there in the Porsche. Then it's Timmy Blunder 10th, Cheese Monkey and Mariela lined up in 11th and 12th. Omroz and Error on row 7. Simon and Daz Parker on row 8, ahead of Marpat and Hutch, who make up the grid. So less than 2.2 seconds separating the whole grid. Very nicely, very close between the lot of them. Very, very close. I have to say, Simon, I'm very surprised to see him that far down in 15th place. The man who went into the round 4th in the Drivers' Championship, 28 points off Cheese Monkey, who is leading the way. He'll start the race 15th on the grid and 2 seconds off the pace in the BMW. Simon, who is racing for the Reptile Racing team, who I've already mentioned, are leading the team's championship by 22 points over their nearest rivals, Pocket Rockets Racing team. And it's also Butchers in third on 215. And it's Piston Broke, spelled P-I-S-T, by the way, not the expletive that you may be thinking of. And then it's Scuderia Lang in 5th position. So there are, in actual fact, 4 teams actually that are running BMW cars. So there's actually, in tonight's race, there's 7 BMWs involved. There are 2 drivers not involved tonight. I'm just looking at the check-in to see who is not in. And they are Rage Hunter and Cooper. Bit of a shame they can't be around. We'd have had a full grid otherwise. So we are all set for the race. The drivers will go off on their formation lap, and it will be a rolling start for this 90-minute race here in Misano in GT4 Thursday, Tier 1 in the Formula Racing League Assetto Corsa Competizione. So less than 2 minutes to go before the start of this one. Let us know who you're rooting for as well this evening. Do make sure you like and subscribe to the channel in case you haven't already done so. I'll take the opportunity to read out some comments from you all. So as I've already mentioned, it's a 90-minute race. 2 mandatory pit stops have to be made. You could do a third if you wanted to, but the amount of time you would lose in the pits is very substantial around this track at Imola, so you don't want to be sacrificing too much. And double points are on offer, which means that any of the top 5 could be leading the championship by the end of tonight's racing. So Imola has hosted a Formula 1 World Championship Grand Prix a total of 29 times. The first one being in 1980, that substituted for Monza as the Italian Grand Prix that year, whilst modifications were done to the Monza circuit. And then, because it was that good, they decided to have 2 races in Italy from 1981. And whilst Monza held Italy's national Grand Prix, Imola hosted what was known as the San Marino Grand Prix. That was from 1981 to 2006, before Imola came off the calendar. I'd be interested to know why that was. And it wasn't until 2020 when it was called in as one of the replacement circuits for a lot of venues that couldn't take place because of COVID-19. Imola hosted a Formula 1 race again in 2021 in April, and it will be doing so again, this time on a permanent basis. And we expect it to be on the calendar, the Formula 1 calendar that is, for the next 4 years, which is fantastic news for everyone that loves Formula 1, especially the Tifosi as well. And apparently the primary reason as to why Formula 1 didn't race at Imola from 2006 to 2020, or from 2007 to 2019, was that F1 wanted to accommodate the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. And since then, the sport never managed to find a slot to slip the Imola race seamlessly. As a result, it dropped off the F1 map for the next 14 years. I'd have thought it had been something more to do with the fact of having 2 races in Italy had something to do with that. The drivers are coming back onto the pit straight then for the start. We've got one of the drivers missing, actually. I don't know which driver that is. We'll find out in a moment. when this race gets underway. We'll cut to the times very, very shortly. Grid line up in rows of 2 now, ready to go for the start of this 90-minute race. We expect it to be around about 47, 48 laps, I would think, if not a little bit more than that, before the checker flag falls. And we are underway at Imola. Who will lead the field into Tamburello? So Marty looking to fend off Drifter behind. He'll have the inside into Tamburello, and he leads ahead of the sister BMW. And then we've got Chris and Kevin next behind as they filter their way through the first sector. And so Marty leads, coming out of the Villeneuve chicane and into the Tosa hairpin. And it looks as though that Hutch or Ryan Owenar hasn't even made it out of the pits. And we should wait for that leaderboard to update itself properly. So Marty leads. Hopefully that leaderboard will update itself properly. Oh, and that's Marty running wide on the exit of Akon Morale. That's going to give Drifter the opportunity to close in. Still trying to generate a little bit more temperature into the tyres there was Drifter. It's a long race. And Owenar has retired from the session now, so there's going to be no points for him today. So already down a runner in this race. With Marty continuing to lead with Drifter all over the back of him. Marty, who his best result this season so far has been 6th at Alton Park. He's leading this race currently, but will he keep hold of it by the time this race is over? Marpat is in the pits actually. Now that can count as one of his mandatory pit stops. I think he wants to get track position, hence why he's ducked into the pits already. So Chris in 3rd place, Kevin Herb Freeman and Freeman, Spacey, GTJ, Timmy Blunder and Omros round out the top 10 so far. Cheese Monkey is in 11th place, Simon up to 12th. And a stop-go penalty, unfortunately, for Marpat for speeding in the pit lane. He must have let go of the limiter too early. And so within the next 3 laps, he'll need to serve a stop and go. There's Drifter on the inside into the very anti-outer. How we go look on that too. And that's him passed. Cleanly done on Marty. So Drifter into the lead halfway round the 2nd lap here at Imola. Chris holding firm in 3rd place with Kevin, Freeman and Freeman next behind. And this is Spacey on the inside of Freeman, in fact. So Freeman, could he be dropping down a position at the expense of the Ginetta? He's still ahead of it for now. And that won't be the last of that battle by any means. So Drifter in the lead now as the leaderboard updates itself. Spacey looking to make a move. And Timmy Blunder looks like he's dropped back somehow. He's down to 15th place. He's obviously had a moment, so he's dropped from what was 8th place for him, or 9th place. He's now dropped down 6 places to 15th, which is not a good case scenario for him. Marty's dropped back to more than a second from Drifter. And those are the orange and black liveried Overdose Racing BMWs. Kevin leading Freeman. With Freeman now 2.5 seconds behind the number 62 Overdose Racing car. Spacey continuing to harass the McLaren of Will Freeman. The Frenchman will need to watch his mirrors. And Spacey from Germany continues to climb all over the gearbox of the McLaren. There's no rain expected at the moment. Track temperature 26 degrees Celsius and 20 degrees air temperature, with a wind speed of 10 kilometers, which is now, as far as wind speed is concerned, in terms of where Spacey is, it's more likely of a crosswind he'll be getting into Tamburello, unless I'm mistaken. And this is a move actually from GTJ, makes contact with Onros. I think that's Onros actually going right round the outside. Can he do it to Tamburello? Through the gravel he goes. And GTJ gets back through, pushes the BMW onto the grass, and Onros loses out in that. I've just seen Marpart serving his stop-and-go penalty now. He's now a lap down on the rest of the field, but at least he's taken one of his mandatory pit stops. So Drifter, 1.3 seconds clear of Marty. Chrissy's another 1.6 seconds behind. Kevin and Freeman, nose to tail as well. And there's a move from... Is that Onros who's got through finally on GTJ? The answer is no. I thought it was for a moment, but I think that's actually Simon who's got in front of Error for 11th position. Cheese Monkey ahead of him in 10th place. So the championship leader not having the best of days so far. He could well be losing the lead in the championship. We know it's not going to be Rage Hunter because he's not racing tonight. No, it's not going to be Simon because he's behind him in the race. And Freeman will most certainly be moving into the lead of the championship, even though it may not feel like a day of celebrating his status as championship leader with the live point standings as they are. So Spacey continuing to claw over the gap, all over the back, I should say, of the McLaren as they end the 4th lap. We'll go on board with Spacey for a moment to see how he tackles this Imola racetrack whilst he's going after what could soon to be the championship leader ahead of him. Look at that. You can see how much more confidence he has in riding the curves around this Imola racetrack. He seems to have more confidence than the McLaren. You can see Freeman running wide there. He's not taking the best of lines. Most certainly not through the Villeneuve chicane, and definitely not through Tozer. So it's a matter of time before Spacey does have the upper hand. McLaren ahead. You can just see Spacey breaking that a little bit later. Now Freeman makes a mistake. As Spacey goes to the outside. He won't do it through Varian Dialto on the outside. That's not the best line to take over the curbs. He won't want to be exceeding track limits too many times, otherwise a penalty will be coming his way. So it may well be in the last sector where Freeman's able to recover some of the time. And Freeman's in. So Freeman into the pits for Overdose Racing. The first of the leaders to do that. He'll fall to the back, but at least he'll have track position, depending on how long he'll be in the pits for, of course. So that moves Will Freeman up to 5th place on track. He brakes too late, though, through Tamburello, and Spacey's able to close back in on him again. So Freeman leaves his box now. And he'll rejoin in 6th place. Here we go. Look, Spacey on the inside of Will Freeman. And he's through. Nicely done. It was bound to happen at some point. And Spacey got the move done into Tosa Hairpin. That was a splendid manoeuvre there from Spacey. He piled on the pressure and it paid off. Freeman trying to fight back, but to no avail. And so the Ginetta moves up into 6th place, or 5th place it'll be now, on the road. Freeman trying to fight back, though, through Acca Minerale. Not able to do so. So Spacey holds on. Look at that. Freeman getting out of shape, and surely GTJ is going to go through ahead of him. Doesn't quite do so. Freeman holds on for now. Simon's going to be closing in. Oh, it's Umros, actually, he's closing in on these guys. Simon will be closing in as well on Umros whilst he's at it, albeit 3.7 seconds behind his teammate. So Will Freeman on the back foot in this race, seemingly. And I don't think it's going to be too long until GTJ completes a similar to what Spacey has done earlier on in the lap. So Drifter's lead has stretched out to 3 seconds. And GTJ, is that GTJ in the pits? Yes, it is. So DGJ fancies completing an undercut here. I don't think he'll get out in front of Freeman unless he completes the best of pit stops. It depends on how much fuel or how quick he gets the tyres put on his car. I want to make sure he sticks to the speed limit as well as he stops in the box now. Freeman will go through ahead of him. I want to go back to the battle between Freeman, and this is Omros, who is right on his tail. There's a bit of dust being kicked up there by the McLaren ahead. So Drifter continuing to stretch out his margin. It was 3.2 seconds at the Villeneuve chicane. It's now stretched to 3.5. So Drifter dominating, looking comfortable at the moment. And GTJ rejoins behind Freeman. He's a long way behind him, actually. He was in the box for a very long time, in fact. So could he be going on a longer second stint to most of the others? It is still early on in the race to make a mandatory pit stop, to be honest with you. I don't expect most of the runners to be making their first mandatory pit stops until around the 30-minute mark in this race. It's a 90-minute race, remember, so we're only 13 minutes into this one. There's your race leader. And Cheese Monkey, head of Mariola, and now right on the gearbox of the BMW of Error. I think, actually, has he lost a position? I think Error got in front of Simon, so Error's able to get through ahead of Simon and go up into 8th position. So Simon will fight back, actually, as they come towards Tamburello. Will Simon brake later than Error? Almost going side by side. He have the better drive on the exit there, but he's not able to make the move work, so he stays behind for now. And Simon slots in behind. Oh, and Simon's over. Oh, that's contact between Cheese Monkey and Simon. So Simon got a bit out of shape, didn't notice that Cheese Monkey was alongside, and the two have made contact on the exit. I think Simon's kept hold of the place, actually. of the field. Making their way through. And now we watch Marty. And Chryses and Kevin, who's closed in now on Chryses. The gap, well, it said 1.4 seconds. Well, it looks round about that now because Kevin's run wide through the gravel at Ravazza. And there's Spacey just pulling away now from the Onros and Freeman battle. In fact, Onros has got in front of Freeman, so Freeman's not enjoying the first stint of this race. At least he hasn't got Error to be worried about, who's another 6 seconds adrift. So just 3 drivers who have pitted in for their first mandatory pit stops of the race. And that's Timmy Blonder moving in front of Mariota for 11th position now. Mario looking to fight back. Can he brake later than the Mercedes into turn 2, that is? Turn 1 is the first kink after the start line. Oh, that's someone in the gravel. Couldn't quite tell who that was. Is that Marpat who is off the track? Yes, it is. So Marpat, who was already down a lap, went through the gravel on the exit of Tamburello. He's lost even more time thanks to that. The Drifter, 5.1 seconds in front now over Marty. Sees 2.5 seconds clear, only 1.1 ahead of Kevin. It's been a great effort from Chryses. 2 non-finishes so far this season at Brands Hatch and Misano. He picked up a second place finish in the second of the 2 races at Alton Park last month. Now Error beginning to close in on Freeman. 4.6 seconds is the gap between those 2 drivers. It's been a sterling effort from Error today. Now, Error's best finish has been a 7th place finish. He didn't compete in Misano last week, and neither did Freeman. So Spacey continuing to go well in 5th position. Marty's got the gap back down a little bit to Drifter. 4.8 seconds it is. It was around about 5.1 around about a lap ago. How is he getting on through Sector 2? Because this is the next time beam, which is just before Acqua Minerale. Earlier on in the lap than I thought it would be in this game. It's now back up to 5.2, so Drifter is able to respond to Marty's persistence. So Simon running in 9th behind Error as they go through Piratella. Cheese Monkey going wide, as does Timmy Blunder. There's Daz Parker, who look at the few scratches on his car. There's Hutch, who's ahead of Marpa, who's a lap down. So 18.5 minutes into the race, Drifter leads by more than 5 seconds. Marty in second. Now, if the race was to end as it is, Drifter would move on to 196 points, with Cheese Monkey running in 10th. That would net him 28. Freeman, who's running in 7th, who would get 40 points. Rage Hunter would stay where he is, and Simon, who's in 9th, would get 32. So Will Freeman will be leading the championship after this round. There's still a long way to go yet, with a lot of these drivers still needing to make the first of their 2 mandatory pit stops. So 10 laps in. And Drifter looking very, very good so far. When the clock does reach 0, of course, whatever lap the leader is on will be their last lap. Drifter extending the gap. It's now 6.2 seconds over Marty. Kevin continuing to close in on Prestige in the fight for third position. And a drive-through penalty for track limits to car number 21, which is Omroz. So he's exceeded track limits too many times, so he'll have to take a drive-through penalty within the next 3 laps, unfortunately. He may just carry on for now, or will he decide to just take that drive-through penalty straight away? No, he carries on for now, but that drive-through will cost him dear. Very, very dear. He's on course for a good result as well, had it not been for that. I'll send a warning out to the drivers as Kevin gives Cassis a bit more of a hard time. Can he go for it into Tosa maybe? He thinks about it. Doesn't do so, tries to distract the Audi as best as he can. So here are your 2 drivers coming through. Piratella. So through Ravazza they come. Cassis continuing to hold firm in 3rd place. Kevin right behind as well. And Kevin trying to get into the slipstream. Not able to have a go through Tamburello. And Omroz is still not come into the pitch yet, so he's got to come in at the end of this lap to take that drive-through penalty. Otherwise, he will be disqualified from the race. And Parker now in the Mercedes AMG. He pits from 13th position. And is that Blunder in the pits as well? I think how they come in together, those two. No, I don't think they have. So they're both coming in now. GTJ will go past them. Omroz pushing as hard as he can at the moment in 6th place. The gap's now 7.4 seconds between Drifter in front and Marty in P2. Cassis still ahead of Kevin. And we've now got a stop-go penalty for Daz Parker for speeding in the pit lane. So he's done exactly the same thing as what Marpat had done earlier on in the race. Omroz in to serve his drive-through penalty. Now, I doubt he'll be able to use that as his mandatory pit stop. Not really supposed to anyway, so it's a hefty punishment, I'm afraid. Simon will go through ahead of him, as will Hutch, as will Freeman, who's already made one of his mandatory pit stops. So Amros rejoins in 13th place now after serving his drive-through. And Kevin's now ahead of Cresses. We didn't see the move, but Kevin's finally through. I reckon he's done that at Tosa Hairpin. So that's the BMW into third place. We've now got a BMW 1, 2 and 3. Oh, you can see there's Spacey running wide. Or Cresses, I should say, running wide. Spacey's actually coming up behind what looks like Timmy Blunder. He's actually coming into the pits to avoid being stuck in the traffic. Can he get the car slow down in time? He can. And Des Parker coming in. I think that's Parker actually coming in to serve his stop and go penalty. So Spacey attempting to perform an undercut on Kevin and Cresses. He'll come out in clean air. There's Simon, and look at the squabble we've got on at the moment. I think one of them is a lap down actually, as Freeman is able to get past Hutch for what is now 10th place on track. Amros will want to get in on the act here. Spacey should get out in front of GTJ. He's leaving his box now. GTJ is coming round. Rabatza, I think Spacey should be okay. Yeah, he's absolutely fine. So he's well and truly clear. As GTJ stays in 14th position. Spacey's got a bit of clear track ahead of him. There's Drifter carrying on his way. On course for his third victory in 4. Enhancing his title challenge very, very positively. Now, the highest of those who have made a mandatory pit stop is Freeman, who's in 10th. He's now stuck behind Simon, actually, until now, because he's side by side with him as they go towards Ravatsa. Contact made between the two drivers. Keep it clean, guys. And it looks like Freeman's done it, albeit he's gone across the gravel trap on his way to doing that. So Simon won't be too impressed with that. Now, where's Simon? Because he's only just getting out of the gravel trap, I think. So Freeman's through. Right on board with the helicam, because we've not really used that in this race. So an opportunity to really explore as Simon pits in. It's been a low key race really for the Polish driver. And the gap between Drifter and Marty is now increased to 9.3 seconds. So he continues to lead on his way. Marty looks rather happy to be second at the moment. Kevin ahead of Chris. 16 laps into the race now. Half an hour down. There's Freeman running in 5th place. We'll go on board with him as he brakes for Tamburello. And now he's coming onto the straight before the Villeneuve chicane. So he leaves the Villeneuve chicane as he brakes for Tosa. And I think this has given him the chance actually to really settle down now and start executing more of the corners whilst he's not tussling with any drivers. Will Freeman. As he comes towards Acrominerali. Turns in nice and early. Lovely through Acrominerali. And now as he approaches the Variante Alta, rides the yellow curves there. Down to second gear for Ravazza. Now onto the pit straight. He completes his 17th lap. And Marpot's now ahead of Daz Parker for 16th place, both which have made one mandatory pit stop. Freeman going along nicely actually. Can he complete an undercut on a lot of those ahead? It's possible. The next one in front of him is Mariola, who's another 20 seconds up the road. Drifter extending the gap now to Marty. 10.8 seconds between the pair. I think they're coming up to some back markers now, I think. Well, Drifter will be shortly. Next back marker ahead of him is GTJ, who's running in 13th place. And still no change there. And there's Chris right on the gearbox of Kevin. And Marty's in the pits from second place. So can he get out in some clean air here? I think it's doubtful he will do, if I'm honest with you. But we'll see. And someone else is in the pit lane. It's Cheese Monkey. So Freeman, can he get in front of Marty here? I think he's got a great chance of doing so. I think he's going to get ahead of him. So Freeman down the pit straight. Is he ahead of Marty? Yes, he is, just. So Freeman able to complete an undercut from earlier on. And he's through to what could be second place later in the race. To make matters worse, Marty's falling behind Omroz as well, so he's not really got track position now. Freeman most certainly does. Now Drifter, who is coming through. Here's Chris running in third place now on track behind Kevin. Now what will he decide to do here? Will he duck into the pits and maybe think about doing an undercut? Not 100% sure. But now on lap 20, we are expecting around 46 laps of racing, maybe 47. But there's the mandatory pit stops to take into consideration as well, so it could well be 45, but we'll see later on. .7 seconds between Freeman and Mariota, so he's closing on him more and more. So Freeman is on the threat now from errors. So Freeman not able to keep up with the top guys ahead. Errors closing in on him all the time. Freeman has not made a mandatory pit stop in this race so far. .5 seconds for the gap between Mariota and Freeman. It's now 17.6. Freeman absolutely flying in the second stint. Now, how long will it be before the leaders actually start to come in for their first mandatory pit stops? None of the top 6 currently in the field have done that. And you can see how hard Freeman's pushing at the moment. So Freeman coming towards sector 2, 17.6 in the previous sector, 17.5 now, so he's able to take another tenth of Mariola's margin. Pushing a little bit wide, you won't want to be running wide there too much. We've already had one driver in this race being handed a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits too many times. That was Omroz who got that. 17.5 seconds was the gap. It's now 16. So Freeman was able to take 1.5 seconds out of Mariola's gap in the last sector alone this time. Oh, just brakes a bit too late. Goes through the gravel at Tamburello. Just pushing a bit too hard there. That'll have cost him some time, most certainly. Oh, he's pushing too hard there. How's he taking those tyres? Maybe too far to the point which they are past their best. He's struggling to get the car through the hairpin there of Tosa Corner. And Drifter's in. So the race leader is in for his first mandatory pit stop of the race. 17 seconds he had over Chryses. Now, the crucial question is, can he get out in front of Freeman, who's been setting some good pace? I think with Freeman losing time on this lap, that will play into Drifter's hands. So Chryses will temporarily take over the lead. Kevin goes up to second. Freeman goes up to third place now, or will go into third place. Now, the driver you're going to be looking for is the number 62 of Freeman. He's just heading towards Ravazza now. Drifter leaves his box and he'll get out in front of Freeman, no problem. But the gap is not going to be so big. That's a certainty. So Drifter exits his box, rejoins in 5th place on track. 6th place, I should say, actually. And there's Freeman at full speed. I think he's going to end up in 2nd place once the first round of stops are done. He's 7.3 behind Drifter. So Freeman's done a great job on this second stint, I must admit. So we're approaching the halfway point of this race. Chryses still hasn't stopped yet, neither has Kevin, or Error, or Mariola. Omros has been in for a drive-through penalty, but not for a mandatory pit stop yet, and neither has Hutch. Those are the only drivers who haven't made a pit stop yet. Chryses and Kevin continue to stay out. The gap is 4 tenths between the two drivers. I think Chryses might have got back in front of Kevin a few laps ago as well, because Kevin was in front of him for a good while, and Chryses was able to get back through. Freeman will be going on a long first stint, a longer first stint than most of the others. He's on his own in 3rd place, with Error not too far off him. 2.6 seconds was the gap on the pit straight. And Omroz comes into the pits for his first mandatory pit stop of the race now. So here are your top two. So Chryses continuing to lead out in front. And we've now got a drive-through penalty for Timmy Blunder this time for exceeding track limits. So he'll have to take that within the next 3 laps.
You're halfway through, keep pushing.
Omroz just leaving his box now. He's a lap down on the leaders. He will drop to 13th place as Steven Blunder comes in, presumably to get his drive-through penalty done and out of the way. He's already pitted once in this one for one of his stops that has to be in the rules, or stops within the rules of the race. And Will Freeman's also in. Error and Mariola in at the same time. So we're halfway through, and we're starting to see more of the leaders coming in. Now the top two have not been in yet. Drifter will go through. And that's Freeman coming in for his second mandatory pit stop. Interesting, he's decided to make this change now. He did pit early on, to be honest with you. He was one of the earlier ones to come in for his first mandatory pit stop. Oh, he's reversing a little bit there. Not sure that's within the rules. He's ghosted a little bit. So the stewards may decide to speak to him unless the game decides to disqualify him for that. You're not really supposed to reverse in the pit lane. So Chris and Kevin coming out of Ravazza. Will either of them pit in at the end of this lap? No, they're not. They're carrying on for now. So Freeman rejoins, or Will Freeman rejoins in 8th place. Freeman rejoins what is now 11th position, I believe. Now the gap between Drifter and Freeman, before Freeman came in for his second mandatory pit stop, the gap was just under, was around about 7 seconds. So Freeman, with some clean air now, can use that to his advantage and start clawing in on Drifter ahead. You can actually see next to where the manufacturer logos are on the left hand side to it is the amount of tyre wear each driver has, I believe. I think that's how it works. Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll go on board with Chris. Current race leader still hasn't pitted yet. And Kevin losing time here actually. I think he ran wide a little bit through Ravazza. We both decide to carry on for now. And now the field, the top two head towards Tamburello corner. There's Drifter running in 3rd position, Marty 4th right behind. Well, I say right behind, he's 15 seconds behind the man who's technically the race leader. There is Hutch, who's still yet to pit as well. He's running in 5th place. He's having a better race than he has done in previous weeks. He's finished 8th last week in Misano, which is his best result of the season so far. There's Spacey, who's right behind the Audi, but cannot find a way through. He knows he's got more pace in there. Freeman 16 seconds behind Mariola, who still has one more pit stop to make. It's an ambitious strategy that Freeman is doing here today. It seems to be paying off well for him. And that's Chris coming up behind Mariola, who's nearly a lap down. And Marpat has completed both of his mandatory pit stops now, so he is able to go to the end, no problem. He's right at the back though, in 17th position, which will still be good enough to get points. All finishers get points in the FRL ACC. The gap is 1.9 seconds between the Audi of Chris and the BMW of Kevin. It's a matter of time before we do eventually see them making their way through pit road. And it looks like Spacey's finally in front of Hutch, so Spacey up to 5th place on track. Can Cheese Monkey find a way through as well? And the crucial thing for Cheese Monkey is now ahead of one of his title rivals, Will Friedman. They've both got one more mandatory pit stop to make. I think by the time all the stops are done, Cheese Monkey will be up to 4th position, or 5th actually, because Freeman, who's running in 12th, has made both of his stops. So Cheese Monkey on course for 5th place. Will Friedman, as it stands, is on course for 6th. We'll wait and see how Christie's and Kevin get on though. Although they've not pitted once. They've done 28 laps on the tyres of which they've started the race on. 37 minutes remaining. We're looking at around 19 laps of this race left. No more than that. And does Parker into the pits for his final stop. And Cheese Monkey and Freeman have got through past Hutch now. So those positions go to those particular two. Hutch knows he's not in the same race as these two. I think he wants to try and finish in front of where Timmy Blunder, Marpat and Daz Parker are. Not got long to go now really in this race, and Secrecy's pushing as hard as he can. When will he decide to pit in? It's not going to be this lap, and Kevin stays out as well. And Will Freeman seems to have fallen back behind Hutch again, so Freeman must have made a mistake somewhere. He may have done it at Tamburello, but that's allowed GTJ to close in on him, as well as Mr. Error. There's Drifter on his own in 3rd place. He's in a good position to win this one. And looks like someone is in the pits. Who is that? That's Timmy Blunder, who's coming in for his final pit stop. And we've seen to have lost Daz Parker from this race. He was in the pits, but never rejoined the circuit. So he's the second driver to retire from this race. And Tim Blunder in front of Marpat, who is coming towards Piratelli. I think Timmy Blunder should stay in front this time around. The gap between Chryses and Kevin is nearly 3 seconds now. Keep having to change the camera angle sometimes. It locks in, or sometimes it goes back to its default camera setting once you toggle along on enough drivers, to the point which you just have to manually put it back to the correct camera setting of which you wanted to. Freeman's in the pits for his final stop as well. So the man, second place in the championship coming into today, has completed this stop. He'll rejoin behind Omroz, I think. And I think Simon should go through as well. So Simon under threat here. And I think Blunder's already rejoined the track actually now, so Marpat not able to get in front of him. So 4 drivers have already made their final pit stops, and they are free to run to the checkered flag. We've still got 3 drivers who have not pitted at all. Surely Chryses and Kevin must be thinking about pitting. We've got one more race before we take a Christmas break. We've got Kyalami next week, and then the remaining rounds of the championship will be in Bathurst, Paul Ricard and Barcelona. 3.2 seconds on the previous sector, now it's 3.4, so Chryses extending the gap over Kevin. As Drifter making his way through the back markers. And there's Freeman, who's 9.7 behind Mariola. But interesting to see if he can close down that gap. Completely off track, but that's just a glitch within the game itself. So 9.7 was the previous gap in the last set. So it's gone up slightly. It's 9.8. And Hart's running a bit wide there. Won't want to be doing that too many times. And there's Error and GTJ all over the back of him. There's Chryses in your picture. Nearly 4 seconds in front now of Kevin. I just hope these two haven't forgotten that they are supposed to take 2 mandatory pit stops. So Chryses stays out. What about Kevin? There's Mariola, I think. Is that Mariola coming into the pits? It is. So Freeman won't need to worry about that any longer. He's got a new challenge to go and face, and that's GTJ, who is of course still yet to make his final stop, but a good opportunity to see how much of the gap Freeman is closing in. Coming through Tamburello, no problem. It's already a 10th up from before by sector 1. So far, so good. Taking as wide line as possible as he approaches Tosa. Very nicely done, in fact. Oh, he runs wide on the exit, though. Well, costing some speed on the run-up towards Piratella. He turned in too late there, probably applied a bit too much brake. Freeman is now currently 18.5 seconds behind GTJ, further ahead. Runs wide a little bit though through on the exit of Acre Minerali. So I think the first part of the lap he was going well, and then seems to lose time in the remainder of the lap. Oh, he had to lift off in the middle of Variante Alto. That's not good. So the chances of... we've got a stop and go penalty now for car number 999. That is actually Simon in one of the BMWs. So he'll have to take that within the next 3 laps. So Spacey is in. GTJ is also in. So Freeman will go ahead of those two, no problem. What about the leaders? Well, Chryses has stayed out, and so has Kevin. Spacey will rejoin behind Omroz. Can he get in front of Will Freeman? He can get out in front of him, so that's another position lost there for Will Freeman, unfortunately. So Simon will be in for a stop-go penalty very shortly. That'll be for speeding in the pit lane at his last stop. It's been a race to forget for him for absolutely sure. So how quick will Chryses go through the pits? He's got only 26.5 minutes remaining. We've been racing for over an hour now. I think Chryses just wants to use as much of the track position as possible. He does not pit in. What about Kevin? Does he decide to pit in? I know that Simon is in to serve his stop and go. So Timmy Blunder and Marpat will go in front of him. And Marpat will go in front of Simon, who drops down to 16th and last place now. Marpat will feel happy to move back up a position after serving his earlier stop and go. And Marty's in the pits for his final stop. So Marty pitting in from 4th place. He'll lose the position to Freeman for sure. How far will he drop down though? Well, Cheese Monkey will go through, I think, unless he decides to pit in. And now a drive-through penalty for car 21. That's Omroz, who's picked up his 2nd penalty of the race, this time for track limits. So his chances of a top 10 finish have taken another dent. And Simon is still in his box. He's pitted in, actually. And I think he's pitted in to retire after that. So Simon, looks like his race has come to a close. Marty rejoins. Well, Cheese Monkey's already gone through, as has Error. Freeman will go past. And that's Hutch finally in the pits. Omros in. And Cresses is in for the lead. So Cresses into the pits for the first time with 24 minutes remaining. Now I would think, you would think it's going to be a quick pit stop. I'm not sure if it will be. It's a quick pit stop. He knocks one of the traffic cones over for good measure. He's not hanging around. He wants to get on with it. So Cresses rejoins. Where is Drifter? He's ahead. He's behind Drifter, actually. And now we've got another stop and go penalty issued to Hutch this time for speeding in the pit lane. So letting go of the pit lane speed limiter too early as he was coming out of the pits. So what about Kevin? Because he's temporarily leading the race. I'm imagining when he does come in, he'll do a similar strategy to what Cresses did when he came in. There's no way he'll complete an overcut on him in the space of one lap, because he was 5 seconds behind Cresses when he came in, but he decides to stay out for another lap. And Cheese Monkey in for the second time. And I imagine this will be a quick fire stop for him. Can he get out in front of Spacey? The answer is no, so he'll be falling behind him. Well, Freeman will also go past. And that pit stop will be over 30 seconds long, I would imagine. Cheese Monkey will fall behind the BMW. So Omros has already taken his drive-through penalty. Mariolo goes through. Hutch comes in to serve his stop and go. Needs to make sure he doesn't speed in too quickly, though. And he doesn't do, thankfully. So we've got, I would say, 10 laps to go at the end of this once Kevin goes over the line. Now, Drifter, Cresses, Error and Omros have still got one more stop to make. So Kevin, I would imagine, will be pitting in at the end of this lap. I'd be stunned if he didn't. I just hope he's read the rule book before the race started. He's actually staying out, so that's astonishing. There's Freeman behind, who's a lap down from him, but Freeman has completed all of his stops. Kevin has still yet to take his 2 mandatory pit stops. So in terms of race trim, technically I would think that Freeman will be ahead of his teammate once Kevin does complete his stops. And Hutch has completed his stop and go, so he's able to continue on. So there's Freeman closing in on his teammate there on the track. Freeman's got a good chance of winning this race now, actually. I'm just looking to see where Drifter is, actually. Well, Drifter's going through Piratella. Freeman has gone past the Variante Alta, so I'm just thinking, when Drifter does come in for his final stop, how long will he be in the pits for? I would reckon he'll be in there for definitely over a minute. But that won't be enough for Freeman to take the lead from him. So Freeman, I think at best, is looking at second place. As for Kevin, it's pretty much a lottery right now. 38 laps in, and he's still not made a pit stop at all. There's Drifter taking it easy out there. Chrissy's still with one more stop to make. I reckon he'll wait until maybe like with 5 minutes to go with it. And that's Kevin's moving out of the way of his teammate. So he knows that Freeman is quicker. And he does not lose too much time in holding him up. There's Error with a pit stop to make. Still, and there's Freeman, who's nearly 12 seconds clear of Marty. Freeman at the moment, Will Freeman that is. As it stands, he's probably looking at an 8th place finish potentially, or 5th or 6th. But if Cheese Monkey finishes ahead of him in this race, which he's not going to do now because Cheese Monkey has already made his final pit stops as well as Will Freeman, so Freeman as it stands is going to be leading the championship. So Kevin behind Freeman, who makes a mistake at Ravazza. Kevin decides not to go ahead of him. And Kevin stays out again. So Drifter looking very good for the victory now in the BMW. His 3rd victory in 4 it will be, which will give him a great shot at the championship now. With 5, just trying to count how many races we've got. They've got 5 more races to go after this one, including the double header in Barcelona for the season finale. The date of that finale will be on January the 20th. And Hutch has completed this last stop now. He's in 15th position. Now, who else is looking to maybe come in this lap? Well, Mr. Eller has still got one more pit stop to make. I'm not sure whether he will take it at the end of this lap or wait until towards the end of the race. Now, Kevin has surely he's got to think about pitting at the end of this lap. There's 15 minutes to go. And finally does pit him. So Kevin is the last of those who hasn't made a pit stop at all. He comes in at the end of lap 40. Now, I would think this is going to be a mad dash pit stop here. I would bet he'll leave his box within 10 seconds of actually stopping. So we count down from 14.23. So by 14.13, I bet he'll left his box. There we go, look. I thought he would do it. He actually did it within 5 seconds. So I thought he would do that. So Kevin out on his way. Now where will he rejoin? Well, he's definitely behind Drifter. Chryses has gone past him. So Kevin rejoins in 3rd place on track with a pit stop still to come. That was the moment of the race, you have to say. Pretty much either Formula 1 style or DTM style. So Drifter into the race lead. But he's still got one more stop to make. I doubt that Freeman's going to be challenging him now, to be honest with you. And there's Drifter getting held up there by what looks like one of the McLarens. I think that's Will Freeman, actually. So Will Freeman is expected to be challenging Drifter for the championship. We go on board with Drifter as he sets his sights on victory. It's only 12.5 seconds clear of Chryses. I think Chryses has been closing down on him a little bit. Drifter knows it's a gap that is manageable. Now Freeman's got to be careful he doesn't hold up the race leader here, because the last thing he wants is a penalty for ignoring blue flags. He gets out of the way now. And Kevin into the pits. So a lap after he did the first one. He stops at 11.46. And he's away by 11.42. So it's another one of those 4-second stops. I think he will get out in front of Freeman now, to be honest with you. So Kevin on course potentially for a 2nd place finish here at Imola. He's a long way ahead of Freeman. He's to Ravazza now, so Drifter will be watching his mirrors here, because with Kevin making those quick pit stops, could his lead be under threat? I doubt it. And looking at where Kevin is on track, he's just gone through the Villeneuve chicane, so I would expect Drifter to keep hold of his lead by the time he rejoins, but the gap won't be so big. He's in now, so Drifter into the pits for his last stop. Does he arrive in too quickly though? It looks like he got in a bit too quickly, but we'll find out when he leaves the pits. Now, how quick is Drifter's pit stop in comparison to what Kevin did earlier? I would expect it's going to be something similar. So he stops at 10.16. And he's away by 10.03, so that was around about a 13-second stop actually, which is slower than what Kevin did earlier. The Drifter is about to leave the pit lane now. He will rejoin ahead of Kevin. And yes, and that's just what I thought. He did speed when he entered the pit lane. That is a massive blow to Drifter, who had pretty much dominated the race, only for one bad mistake with less than 10 minutes remaining. And that is going to see him not just lose his win, but dropping down the order as well. So Crises is into the lead of the race, but he's got one more stop to make. So he's just got under 9 minutes remaining now. Crises may have a shot at going for the race win now with Drifter's error. He stays out though for one more lap. He's got track position anyway, some clean air to pull out more of a margin over Kevin now, who will be his nearest rival. Now Drifter has got to take that stop and go within the next 3 laps. I think if I was here, I might as well just get that done and out of the way now. But he's going to lose. Oh, he's going to lose, I would say, over a minute. He stays out there to try and bridge out the gap as much as possible. He'll lose positions to Kevin. He may lose the position to Error. I don't think he will do, actually, thinking about it. He'll lose the position to Freeman, most certainly. He'll lose position to Marty, Spacey, and probably Will Freeman as well. And he runs wide on the exit. Tamburello! Don't want to be doing that. And that just adds insult to injury to his race. So Crises has been handed a lifeline. An unlikely lifeline. Highest finish has been second at Alton Park. About to go one better here and claim 80 championship points, which will be very, very handy for him. Could come crucial come the final race of the season next month. I think Crises will be pitting at the end of this lap. And he does pit in now. Now he needs to be careful not to speed, which he doesn't do. He doesn't speed. He's into the box now. And Drifter will be in shortly. Now, can Crises get out in front of Kevin? Now, Kevin is coming into the Variante Alta now. Crises is not in his box yet. So he stops at 6 minutes 13 seconds. He leaves within 7 seconds. That's a good stop. So Kevin is coming down the pit straight now. Crises exits the pits. And I think he's going to retain the lead here. And Crises may well have timed his pit stops to perfection. And he's on course for the race victory here at Imola with just over 5 minutes to go. Drifter into the pits now for his stop and go. And Error still needs to make his second mandatory pit stop as well, so I would imagine he'll do it at the end of this lap. So Drifter completes his stop now. Freeman's gone through ahead of him. Marty has. Spacey will go past him. Will Freeman will go past him. So from what should have been the race victory, Drifter is probably going to finish in 8th place now after all that. So Crises is over 5 seconds in front of Kevin. Well, Drifter, I think, will get back in front of Error, or will he? Because I think all Error needs to do is just make a quick dash in the box for a few seconds and come out again. He's gone into the gravel a little bit there as the BMW driver. So Chris Caesar's crossed over the line. I reckon we've got 3 laps to go, actually, so it could end up being a 38-lap race. At least Eric can go around and do another lap before he pits in. And there's Freeman on the inside of Spacey, look. I think it's going to be a change of position here. Freeman gets past the Ginetta through Ravazza, and he's up into 6th position, which will become 5th once Error comes in for his last stop. So that's an important move for the championship. Freeman up another position. Now, how long before Error decides to pit in? He'll probably come in at the end of this lap. There's Chrissy, 5.5 seconds in front of Kevin. So Error needs to come in for his final stop. Omros into the pits. He should get out in front of Timmy Blunder, no problem. And Error pushing as hard as he can here. But he's into the box now. With 2 minutes to go, can he slow down in time? Yes, he can. Omros exits the pits now. Doing so without speeding. Freeman goes through to 3rd place. Marty will go up to 4th. I think Error may get out in front of Will Freeman here. So he leaves his box now, I believe. He does so. I think Freeman and Spacey are going to go in front of him. Yep, I think they're going to go in front of him here. So Error will drop down to P7. Here we go. So Will Freeman up to 5th. Spacey goes to 6th. And Error will rejoin in 7th position ahead of Drifter. Or does Drifter get ahead of him? Drifter just gets in front of him, actually. So Error just took a bit too long in his box there, and at least Drifter makes a position back up from what he had lost from his stop and go. Well, everyone's made their last stops now, so it's all down to the finish. Chris will cross over the line before the clock reaches 0, so we've got 1 more lap to go here at Imola. Chris on course for a victory that he had earned after a very, very hard race.
The leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you can.
Started 3rd on the grid. Got the strategy right. Very ambitious strategy, has to be said, but it paid off for him. Got in some nice clean air, able to fend off Kevin as well. And he'll be absolutely delighted with this victory. His best result had been 4th at Donington and Laguna Seca, and he's going to take victory here at Imola this time. His first podium and his first victory of the campaign. Kevin won't be too disappointed with his second. He really needed a good haul of points here today, and he's going to do so. And 2nd place will give him 72 championship points, which will move him on to 122, which is a good haul of points for him. He couldn't have wished for a better result, I think, today than this. So here's your race leader. Number 1, Chris in position number 1. He's about to take victory here at Imola. Into the Variante Alta for the last time. He's got Ravazza and then the pit straight to go through, and that is victory number 1 for him this season. In doing so, he'll become the 7th, I'll say the 7th different race winner. He'll become the 6th different winner this season, or the 5th different winner, I should say. Well, either way, Chris comes onto the pit straight for the last time. Chris in the Audi wins at Imola. He has done it there. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant performance from him. Kevin will come home in 2nd place in the BMW. His first podium of the season as well. He'll be absolutely delighted with that. Here is Freeman, who's going to complete a brilliant, brilliant day for Overdose Racing with a 3rd place finish. Here is Marty, who goes past Omroz, who's a lap down from him anyway. He comes home in 4th position. And here's Will Freeman, who didn't expect to be finishing as high as where he's ended up. But this result means he is the new championship leader. There's Spacey closing down on him all the time. But the pair are going to come through for 5th and 6th. There's Drifter. He'll be absolutely annoyed with himself with that speeding penalty he picks up in the closing stages. Only P7 for him. Error will come home 8th. Cheese Monkey, who's had quite a below par race, it has to be said. It just has not been his day today at all, to be quite honest with you. 9th place for him. Mariola will be 10th. That's not a bad effort from him. That's his 2nd best result of the season. His best result being in the opening round at Donington. 10th place for him. GT James in 11th. And that is all the finishers. With Timmy Blunder 12th and a lap down. Omroz 13th. Marpat will be 14th. And Hutch, who is the last to finish in 15th place. I doubt that Simon will be classified. Daz Parker won't be classified either. And neither will Ronan Orinar. So 3 drivers not failing, or not making it to the checkered flag, I should say. So this is your race result. Chris wins by 6 seconds over Kevin. He comes home in P2 with Freeman in 3rd. Marty 4th ahead of Will Freeman in 5th. Spacey 6th. Drifter 7th. Mr. Error 8th. Cheese Monkey 9th. And Marek Marileo running out the top 10. GTJ was 11th, followed by Timmy Blunder and Omroz. Marpat and Hutch were the last of the finishers. Simon, Parker and Orinar were the drivers that didn't finish. So in regards to the championship, Freeman, by finishing 5th, because it's a double points round, he gets 50 instead of 25, moves him on to 233 points. Cheese Monkey with his 9th place finish, he earns 32, which moves him on to 219. And so, with Simon not scoring, Rage Hunter not scoring either, Drifter's 7th place gives him 40 points, which moves him onto 156, so he remains in 5th position in the championship. So the gap at the top is 14 points, with Will Freeman back in the lead, or is into the lead of the championship standings after the 6th round of the season, or the 7th race of the campaign anyway. Thank you very much for joining us. Do make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you keep up to date with everything that is happening within the FRL ACC. I'm Tom Cairns, and I'll speak to you again soon when the Formula Racing League returns.